So what is an outcast? The straightforward answer would be a person with inherited or innate superhuman abilities or non-human characteristics existing outside of normal human society. Now, most or some of these individuals at one point attended Nevermore, the school for outcasts. Now, they attended this school for several reasons, and for this video I came up with 3. 1. They cannot safely integrate into regular society. 2. Their abilities require containment or training. 3 is that they are socially or politically marginalized by the normies. Welcome back, Outcast, to another video. So today I wanted to make another breakdown video for every Outcast shown in Season 2 of Netflix's Wednesday. But we're going to be excluding some of the characters like Wednesday and Enid, as we already know who they are and what they do. Season 2 introduced more characters and abilities, so we will be focusing on them. But for this video, we're going to be breaking down one person at a time. This video will be focused on Pugsley. Now, Pugsley Adams, like his father and his uncle, were gifted with the ability to harness and discharge electricity, or generate. Now, if you're someone who hasn't read any of the books like me, you quickly find out that this is a Netflix exclusive ability, and he doesn't have these electricity abilities in the books, aside from him being extremely durable. Now, what I mean by him being extremely durable is that he can tank explosions. He can take damage that would seriously injure and possibly unalive a regular person. Now, which explains why in cartoons or in the books, he is said to enjoy building bombs, playing with dynamite, which obviously would unalive any other person playing with these things, as well as traps. So on top of being a possible pyro, he has always played along with Wednesday's dangerous games, be it playing with guillotines, crossbows, torture devices, and still came out unscathed. Now in Wednesday, he is still all of these things, but with an added electrifying bonus. Enough to shock the audience, some might say. In the first episode, we see Pugsley uses his powers to shoot at his intended target, that being the stop sign. If he would have missed, he would have been ejected out of the hearse. We are shown more of his abilities when he meets his roommate Eugene from Season 1. An outcast with the ability to control bugs and insects, he greets him with a shocking handshake, showing his more prankster side. Now we get another scene when Eugene's spider randomly passes away, as we get Pugsley using his ability like a defibrillator and jump-starting the spider's heart back to life, which is more of a foreshadowing for later on when we see him bring Slurp, aka Isaac Knight, from the dead when he electrifies and jump-starts his mechanical heart. Now, although we see that Pugsley can be very creative with his electricity, he still has much to learn when it comes to applying more uses with his electricity. Now, I could have did more of a breakdown of all the episodes he was in, but the rest of the time when he uses his abilities, it's like more rinse and repeat. Pugsley still has a way to go when it comes to reaching his Uncle Fester's feats of electricity control. I can safely say that Pugsley still delivered a shocking result. But enough about Pugsley, let's move on to Agnes DeMille. She is introduced at the beginning of Season 2, right after Pugsley and Wednesday arrive at the school. Although her powers aren't shown right away, she possesses the ability of invisibility. But unlike your normal invisible powers, in her case, whatever she touches or whatever she wears will disappear with her. And that makes me kind of wonder, like, if she closes her eyes, can she still see through it, or is that like something that does not work? I have no idea. But unlike all the other characters in other movies, she has complete control to the point where she can make a part of her body appear or disappear at will. Now this is great for things that we have seen her display in the show, such as information gathering, distraction and support, as well as rescue assistance. Now, although this is a useful ability, she does have flaws, as noises still reveal her, because invisibility does not mean silence. Now, beings with enhanced perceptions can detect her movement, and if she isn't careful, invisibility doesn't protect her from physical threats if someone hears or anticipates her location. So would you be happy with her powers? Let me know. Or would you rather be Slurp, aka Isaac Knight, who has the ability of telekinetic matter manipulation? He can move objects with his mind, often using his right hand as his focus. When he's in his, what I'm going to say, his undead form, he possesses immense durability and can regenerate his body by consuming more brains. He's a master inventor capable of creating a clockwork heart to keep himself alive and constructing complex machines. His power is deeply linked to his missing right hand thing, which was severed by Morticia in the past to save the love of her life, Gomez. In a way, he's kind of a biological energy vampire until he reaches his perfect human form in a way. Now let's move on from one villain to the next with Principal Dart, as he displays powers of pyrokinetic powers, such as fire generation, fire manipulation. Now we don't know how advanced the ability is and how far an outcast can go with the abilities, because we don't get a full display of his abilities. But we do know what happens when they're in the wrong hands. Now, I wasn't going to talk about werewolves because we already have Enid and all the other werewolves, but we don't get more in depth with werewolves until season 2. So we're just gonna introduce it here because a new character that gets introduced is Bruno, as Bruno himself is a Lycan. There is a difference between being a regular Lycan and an alpha, which we learn Enid is a part of that group, but since it's new information, let's talk about it for a bit more. Now, werewolves in Nevermore tend to have issues controlling these powers, especially during a full moon, so to help with these shortcomings, Nevermore has secure enclosures called the wolf pens. This is more of a safety measure and a safe place for them if they suddenly transform. Now, basically, this is a way to protect both them and the other kids in Nevermore, since when a werewolf transforms, they experience heightened aggression and a loss of control during the shift, which is extremely dangerous as they get physically enhanced strength, claws, speed, and predatory instincts. And this affects Enid even harder as she is an alpha, so she's playing more on demon time when she transforms. But since we're still on the topic of werewolves, we might as well talk about the new addition, Isadora Capri, who is also a werewolf, but not just a werewolf, as she herself is an alpha who's been trying to help Enid ever since she caught Enid after transforming and leaving Nevermore without a full moon being present. Now, this is a trait that only alphas can do, as regular Lycans cannot transform without the full moon. But enough about werewolves, let's talk about Professor Rosalind Rotwood, aka Lady Gaga. Now, Rosalind is considered a white dove, just like Morticia Addams. Now, the white doves symbolize light, positive visions of the future. Morticia is a dove because her disposition is more optimistic, whereas Wednesday is a raven, who symbolizes dark macabre visions of doom, death, and the past. Now, Wednesday is a raven because of her outlook. It's very cynical, and her powers are fueled by the darkness. In season 2, her powers evolved. She even begins to weep black tears when she pushes her visions too far. Now, I feel like the abilities are two sides of the same coin, as both type of psychics are essentially seers. They are both looking into the same stream of information, the past, the present, and the potential futures of those they touch. Now, the dove filters the reality through empathy, hope, optimism. A dove sees the potential for growth, beauty, and redemption, whereas the raven filters that same reality through cynicism, caution, and macabre. A raven is hyper-focused on the threats, the structural weaknesses, and inevitable, and inevitable decay. A raven is hyper-focused on threats, structural weaknesses, and inevitable decay. Now, we have seen what happens in season 2. What happens if a raven tries to act like a dove, or vice versa? The power becomes erratic. They are balanced against each other. The world needs both the warnings of a raven and the hope of a dove to see the full picture of the future. Now, another reason why they have the potential of being two sides of the same coin is because both have the potential for possibly losing a sense of self and succumbing to the madness that comes with such a power on both sides of the spectrum. But that brings me to Judy Stonehurst. But what if someone created something or someone who can actually control a raven? Well, that's where Judy Spanage, real name Judy Stonehurst, daughter of scientist Augustus Stonehurst, comes into play. Now, I did make a video calling out Judy as a fraud, as she is not a true avian, a person who can control birds, but she is more of a corvian, a person who can only control crows. Now, we could chop this up to her only choosing to control crows specifically, or because her being an artificial outcast created by her father only allowed for her the ability of one bird. Now, in the introduction to an avian adds a twist to the coin analogy that I was talking about earlier. While ravens and doves are natural sides of a psychic coin, Judy's powers are artificial. She is a normie who extracted outcast DNA to gain power controlling abilities. Now, just how Wednesday and Morticia are two sides of a natural coin, while season 2's villain represents a counterfeit coin, someone trying to use the same imagery, the raven, without the internal psychic soul that defines the Addams family. Now that we have a lot of the main people talked about, there's some things I want to talk about after that. There are kids with telekinesis, but there's so much of them that I feel like that's why the show doesn't really focus on them. Because if you guys notice, in one of the scenes during the burning of the raven, there are children that possess telekinesis, and there is a good group of them. During the setup, you can see countless students that can move objects in the background. In this case, it was twigs and sticks used to create the raven. Now, to me, this kind of shows, I could be reaching, who knows? This kind of shows that telekinesis is like a dime a dozen ability compared to others like an avian that was kidnapped, whose DNA was given to Judy, and they said in Nevermore that they haven't seen an avian in years. What about Professor Olaf? Is he special? What are his powers? Well, besides being intelligent, having all the knowledge of Nevermore's history in that water dome of his, to me, he's more of a simple person. But maybe he did possess powers, but when he lost his actual body, he just can't use them anymore. Who knows? But we do know that the reason he has lived for so long is because of Isaac Knight's invention. Now, this is a power core that's for some reason has limitless energy that keeps him alive. Now, we don't see him going around docking himself like a Roomba, so kind of would be a funny blooper, but we're getting sidetracked. But we have seen that he was being kept alive by Isaac's invention, which later he reclaims after taking Olaf's life. Now we're almost over, so I did want to bring up some honorable mentions. With that being Josephine, one of Agnes's friends and Wednesday's fangirl. Now, Josephine has the ability of a shapeshifter, just like Principal Wims, and this power is said to be extremely rare. She can shapeshift to any person as long as she has like a picture or somebody can basically depict the features of said person. Now, this one might be another reach, I'm not gonna lie. So, there are students that I want to say are vampire / daywalkers. Now, I don't know if it's just me or it's because of the clothing, but there are certain kids that you might see walking around in the scenes that have like these red and black gothic clothing, and they're always wearing sunglasses, obviously protecting their eyesight from the sun. But I don't know, and I feel like I know it's them, but I just can't confirm it. And there's a couple scenes after that when they're in that little, fighting the military kids for that in one area, whatever you want to call it. What about the true avian? Now, we do get to see him. Now, the true avian actually shows us during this time when Uncle Fester gets sent to Willow Hill Psychiatric Facility, he visits a man who is in a bird cage surrounded by a variety of birds. Because of the test, I would assume that they left him in a vegetative state where he can only communicate through that scarlet macaw parrot, one of my favorites. I love the colors. And this cage shows that what a true avian can do. With him, he's being surrounded not just by one species, but by different species of birds, showing us that Judy's watered down version, it can only be really narrowed down to a crow. Maybe, actually, I think, is Judy dead? I gotta look back into it. I don't remember if she died. But if she did ever have a kid, the kid might be able to get that bloodline where he can actually become a true avian. But for now, Judy can only control birds from what we've seen. But we have reached the end of the video. Now, if I missed anything or any other outcasts in the background, let me know in the comments what you think those characters are and what their abilities could be. Now, I didn't bring out the Gorgons. I didn't bring out the Medusa. Actually, are the same thing. I didn't bring out the kids with the Medusa bloodlines. Anything that was already, talked about in season 1, I did not bring here. So let me know in the comments. But as always, hit that like button, subscribe, and yes, again, leave a comment down below to show your true Nevermore spirit, because it's better to be an outcast in the world full of normies.